Okay, good evening, everyone. Ladies, gents, good evening and welcome to today's very important guest lecture. It's always been a dream of mine to bring to my students people who work with what we are teaching you on a daily basis. So it is an absolute pleasure to have this particular lecture today. So welcome to everyone. Welcome to the guests who are here. I've got my colleagues who are here. We've got people from government who are joining in via our YouTube channel. Academics from other institutions as well are already joining via YouTube. I am Dr. Malindi Gunene from the School of Management, Information and Governance, specifically from the field or specializing in the field of entrepreneurship, SMME development, and technology innovation strategy. I'll be your host for today, and you get to meet even my other colleagues who are here in this lecture. Now, excuse me, it is a great pleasure for us to be able to gather today for a discussion and insights led by our guest, a dear friend, colleague in academia, and in technology and innovation management, Dr. Alistair Mokoena, on a theme titled The Role of Responsible Artificial Intelligence in Fast-Tracking Africa's Digital Transformation and Economic Development. What started off as a conversation on Facebook has come to life today. And this conversation was roughly a year ago. That's how long it's taken us to plan organizing this lecture. And it has been very crucial for us to actually get to this point because you need to get to understand where we are and where we're going. It is imperative for me to contextualize why we're here. As a university that is leading in innovation and technology transfers, and IP, these are the type of conversations we need to engage in as part of inspiring greatness and promoting African scholarships for a better Africa by us. In today's rapidly evolving landscape, the fusion of technology and innovation stands as a cornerstone for progress, particularly in the realms of management and entrepreneurship. As we navigate the intricacies of the digital era, it becomes increasingly evident that understanding and embracing the principles of responsible, let me repeat that, the principles of responsible artificial intelligence is not just a choice, but a necessity. The significance of grasping the implications of AI cannot be overstated. Africa stands at a pivotal juncture, poised for remarkable growth and development. However, the path we tread must be one that is guided by foresight, ethics, and responsibility. Excuse me. Through forums like the one we have today, through guest lectureships like the one we have today, we start engaging in meaningful dialogue and sharing insights. And I am very happy that in KZN, we have the pleasure to do that. And I wish when I was your age, I could have met and been in a class with someone who works with what is happening in the world right now. That said, I'd like to just extend my deepest gratitude before we get the official welcome to Dr. Alistair Mokoena for being here with us and for agreeing to have this important conversation, which may have started on Facebook, but it has made its way to three classrooms, I think the three major classrooms that are here: technology management and strategy, entrepreneurship and leadership, and post-grad in
advanced topics in management.
Advanced topics in management. at master's level. So we have everyone here who really needs to hear this. Without further ado, I would like to bring my colleague, Professor Thea, to come up front to do the official welcome from our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kunene. Good evening, esteemed guests, colleagues, students, and our virtual audience joining via YouTube. It's my profound honor and delight to welcome you to this momentous public lecture hosted by the School of Management, IT and Governance in the College of Law and Management Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. I want to draw you to the opening slide representing our school, where we believe co-inspire our heart set, our mindset, and our handset. Just to contextualize where and who we are, the School of University of KwaZulu-Natal is broke down into different colleges. The School of Management and IT is located within the College of Law and Management Studies, and within the School of Management and IT and Governance, we've got several disciplines. If you look at the different disciplines represented, you can think of any organizational structure or societal structure, and you will find elements of it available. Management and entrepreneurship from Dr. Kunene, the discipline, information systems and technology, human resource management and industrial relations. Yes, give it a hand. It's great disciplines. There we go. Even the bell is ringing on it. Marketing and supply chain management, public governance, and then we've got a self-funded training program. So that is where that's where the School of Management and IT is located, within the College of Law and Management Studies, within UKZN. In my capacity as the academic leader for high-impact community engagement and internationalization, I stand before you on behalf of Professor Stephen Mutula, our esteemed Dean and Head of School, to extend our warmest greetings and heartfelt welcome. Tonight, we are privileged to host Dr. Alistair Mokoena, the Country Director for Google South Africa, an esteemed leader whose contributions to the digital landscape are both transformative and inspiring. Dr. Mokeena's lecture is titled The Role of Responsible Artificial Intelligence in Fast-Tracking Africa's Digital Transformation and Economic Development. It promises to be a thought-provoking exploration of how responsible AI can serve as the cornerstone of our continent's future. The University of KwaZulu-Natal, through our commitment to excellence in education, research, and community engagement, recognizes the pivotal role of digital technology and artificial intelligence in shaping the future of our greater society. We are at a critical juncture in history where the decisions we make today will determine the trajectory of Africa's digital and economic landscape for generations to come. An integration of responsible AI into our digital infrastructure offers unparalleled opportunities for innovation, efficiency, and inclusivity. However, it poses ethical, social, and economic challenges that requires our collective wisdom and commitment for future sustainability. Tonight, we look forward to Dr. Mokeena's insights in navigating these complexities, fostering a digital ecosystem that empowers rather than alienates, that solve problems rather than create them, and that champions the cause of economic development while ensuring digital rights and dignity of all Africans. I would like to take a moment to reflect on our experience going back to 2020. We had the privilege as a small delegation to attend the February Google Startup Conference in San Francisco. It was just a couple of weeks before the world came to a standstill due to COVID. And at that point of time, we still joked about Corona being just a light beer. It was an incredible experience. The Google conference, not the light beer. The experience was from the venue that it utilized. It used existing community structures. It included local cinemas, and all the cinema theaters were transformed into conference venue tracks. Those overhead boards where they usually project the different type of movies, that was projecting the different types of conference tracks. What an experience it was, engaging with global tech lineup of speakers and meeting the Google CEO of product inclusion. We visited the Google Silicon Valley campus, and we marveled at encountering an AI-driven, emotional, intelligent bed of flowers that changed colors as it detected mood and feelings. Wow. We were dreaming of seeing a similar Google Startup Conference in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal. Maybe this can be a future aspiration. As we delve into the critical discourse of Dr. Mokoena's lecture, let us also embrace the spirit of collaboration and open-mindedness. Let this lecture not just be a platform of sharing knowledge, but a catalyst for sparking innovative ideas, forging new partnerships, and laying the groundwork for a future where technology serves humans' highest aspirations. To our guests here and online, your presence enriches this conversation, and your participation is valuable as we collectively explore the vast potentials and responsibilities of artificial intelligence in our journey towards digital transformation and economic development. In conclusion, let us all engage with an open heart and open mind in the discussions that will unfold tonight. May these insights shared inspire us. Challenges addressed empower us, and the vision articulated guide us to work together to a digital inclusive, economically vibrant, and socially just Africa. Thank you, Dr. Alistair Mokoena, for gracing us with your expertise and leadership. And thank you to each and every one of you for being part of this significant occasion, here and online. Now, let us lend our ears, minds, and hearts to what promises to be an enlightening and transformative lecture. Welcome and enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Fia. What a great welcome. Thank you so, so much. We just have a bit of a technical issue. If you can just give us about 2 minutes to fix the sound for you on YouTube. We saw the numbers are very high on YouTube, and we are just trying to make sure that we fix the sound before we move on. So if you can just bear with us for 2 minutes.
run a quick competition.
No.
We can do the social media competition.
We'll do that. Can I? Okay, can we go?
And well done, Alistair. I wouldn't expect it to be more than you.
But I have a Google email.
Okay. Right, we are back on. The sound is apparently better. I'm getting all the WhatsApps with everyone who's on YouTube. So the sound has improved. We apologize for that. So let's quickly go on with the order of today. So thank you so much to my colleague, Professor van der Westhuizen, for that very great welcome that you've just given us. Now, as we move on to the third item of our event today and of our guest lecture, we're moving on to the introduction of the great guest speaker that we have today. I hope you're listening and I hope you get inspired, because this is going to surely inspire you. So, right, Dr. Alistair Mokoena is a chartered marketer who holds the following qualifications. Let me fix my mic. BCom Law and LLB from Rhodes University, MBA from Menkosa GSB, and MDP from UCT GSB, and a PhD from the Northwest University NW Business School. Dr. Mokoena's corporate career journey spans 25 years, where he held various marketing and general management roles. These include being a brand manager at Unilever, senior brand manager at Tiger Brands, marketing manager at SAB Miller, marketing director at Cadbury, marketing director at ABSA, managing director of FCB Johannesburg, and Chief Executive Officer of Ogilvy South Africa. He is currently the Country Director for Google South Africa, where he is responsible for the commercial engine of the organization. Dr. Mokoena previously served on various marketing and advertising industry bodies, such as MASA, which is Marketing Association of South Africa, IAB, Interactive Advertising Bureau, and the AIB, which is Advertising Regulatory Body. He was previously a judge at the Bookmarks Awards, Financial Mail, Ad Focus Awards, Marketing Achievement Awards, Hollard Sports Industry Awards, and the BCX Digital Innovation Awards. He has received numerous industry awards over the years, most notably the Best Advertising and Marketing Leader for 2019 in South Africa by Global Brands magazine. In addition, I'm looking at the faces going. In addition to his corporate career, Dr. Mokoena also plays a key role in bridging the gap between industry and the academic world. To this end, Dr. Mokoena serves as an associate professor of practice at the Johannesburg Business School, extraordinary professor of practice at the Northwest University Business School, the International Advisory Board of Johannesburg Business School, the Advisory Board of the Institute for Intelligent Systems at the University of Johannesburg, Member of Council at the University of Johannesburg, Postgraduate Supervisor at the IIE Vega School, External Examiner at Butho University, that is Botswana, University of Botswana, and is regular guest lecturer at a number of local and international business schools. Dr. Mokoena was previously a Senate member at Richfield Graduate Institute of Technology. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together in welcoming Dr. Alistair Mokoena on stage.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you all hear me? Good evening, everybody. I was saying to my wonderful host that don't thank me yet, thank me when I'm done. Because you don't know what quality you'll get until I'm done. So it's great being here. It's actually very ironic that I'm here because I'm a student at UKZN. I'm doing my second PhD with this university. We're doing it virtually. I'm not allowed on campus. But I'm on campus today to give a talk, not to be a student. So it's quite ironic. It's almost like I insisted on being on campus. So thank you for sacrificing the time to be with us tonight. This is a very important exercise. I think it's important for academia and industry to come together. We need to have one conversation. We need to apply practically what we learn. We need to research and test what we practice in industry. And we need to ensure that we constantly learn because we must be a student for life and a student of life. We should observe, we should ingest all the data we see around us, we should try to participate with our judgment, suspend judgment, absorb, and then eventually you will get to a place where you're enlightened. So it looks like my voice is not big enough, so I'll use the mic. So I'm excited to be talking to you today about the role of artificial intelligence in society. Now, we don't speak about artificial intelligence in isolation. We speak about responsible AI, right? When you've got the privilege of working with technology that is so powerful, that is so effective, that is so impactful, especially a nascent or a new or a young technology, you have to think about the pros and the cons. You have to think about the good that it does, but you must also be mindful that there are bad actors in society who might use it for bad ends, who might use it for nefarious ends. So there are people who will misuse AI, but then there's also people that will use AI to uplift lives and livelihoods. We're very lucky that we recently had the 37th African Union Summit in Addis Ababa, where the leaders on the continent got together and spoke about, amongst other things, the importance of Africa leaning into digital technology to help accelerate Africa's prosperity. Africa can no longer afford to talk about incremental growth. What we need and what we deserve is exponential growth. Technology helps us scale. If you want exponential growth, technology is your friend. So what we're seeing around the world is that the best nations in the world are nations that are using technology on a daily basis to improve economic growth, to improve lives and livelihoods, to improve education outcomes, to increase life expectancy, to deal with diseases, to accelerate scientific discovery, to drive social cohesion, and to promote democracies in the world and world peace. There's a survey done by Cisco called the Digital Readiness Index. It indexes about 185 countries around the world, and the number one country in the world is Singapore. Now, Singapore is an incredible case study. 200 years ago, Singapore was a mere fishing village in Asia with about 2,000 inhabitants. But through visionary leadership and a reliance on technology, Singapore today is an economic powerhouse. And it's actually a model that a lot of nations could learn from. Unfortunately, the majority of African countries are from position 70 onwards, but not in the top 60, except for Botswana. I think it's about 35 in that index. Now, what this index does is it maps countries according to quite a few criteria. One of them is access to basic services, ease of doing business, investment in good quality education, technology adoption like AI, machine learning, and so on, investment in technology and infrastructure, and investment in the startup ecosystem. What are we doing to support small business? Small business is the lifeblood of any economy. 95% of businesses on the continent are small business. In South Africa, about 38% of our GDP comes from small business. About 55% of people that are employed work in small business. So if you want to improve the economy, you have to protect the small business and drive entrepreneurship. So we'll speak a little bit about what is AI, what does it look like, and we'll get into what are some of the challenges that we face as a continent, as a people, and then we'll get to what are the exciting things that we're seeing with AI, what are some of the researches and the breakthroughs that we've come up with as Google, along with social partners, because as we say in Africa, it takes a village. So these partnerships between us in the private sector and academia, super important. Partnerships between us and government and regulators, super important. There is a need to regulate AI. It's a new technology. We need to build guardrails around it. We need to ensure that everybody who uses it uses responsibly. And we need to make sure that there are safety principles that we all abide by. And then we'll look at just some of the examples that you might be using every day. So just by a show of hands, who here uses AI in their lives? Who's not sure? Okay, perfect. So AI basically is a simulation of human intelligence in machines. So machines learn and they do incredible things and they perform tasks based on this simulation of human intelligence. So the cognitive ability that we're born with as human beings, we've now trained machines to be able to mimic that. And at some point, machines become so clever that there's a concept called superintelligence. Can anybody tell me how old AI is? Just shout out a number. 6 years old? Any other guesses? 2? 2, we have 6, we have 2. 7? 70. Okay, 70? 15. 50. Okay. So in 1956, I think it was John McDonald introduced the concept of artificial intelligence at a research conference. And AI, as we know it, is probably in the region of about 21, 22 years old. So Google is 25 years old. And you've all heard of generative AI, right? Popularized by ChatGPT. Now, the T in ChatGPT stands for transformer. Now, Google came up with transformer, which is the grandparent of all neural architecture. So the power behind AI is actually transformers. So we're very excited about what AI has been doing for us. So when you use your cell phone, there's predictive text, there's autocorrect, all of that is AI. And that's old. We've been using it for a long, long time. And when you're doing a Google search, we often ask you or advise you, is this what you meant? Or did you mean this? That's correcting some of your grammar, some of your spelling mistakes, and just really helping you. When you look through your phone and your photo albums on your phone, doesn't your phone actually package and organize and arrange your photos according to where they were taken, when they were taken, the occasion? That's all AI. For those of you that use GPS to get around, whether it's Google Maps or Waze and those kind of things, that's all AI. So AI is part of your daily lives, and you might not be aware, you might take it for granted, but what you need to know is that there's always AI involved in society to make life better, to make life simpler. But obviously with technology, we have to understand that there are people that might use it irresponsibly. So the respect for privacy, respect for safety is important, and all those things are key. Now, AI is powered by large language models called LLMs. Now, these are AI systems that are trained on large data sets. So whether it's millions of photos or images or words or large data sets, we train these models, they learn, and then they get to do amazing things. So AI generally is about, recognizing patterns. Is about looking at data and understanding and making sense of it. Whereas generative AI, which is ChatGPT, or Google's version, which is Gemini, That's actually about generating new data using, training data. So these models, they don't just recognize patterns, they actually create patterns. So that's why we call them generative AI. They generate things. But with that also comes things like deep fakes, right? We've all seen deep fakes. We've all seen people come up with stuff that's not true. We've all heard of lawyers who might present cases in court that come from a generative AI tool thinking they're quoting an existing authority, but actually it's a fabrication. We also have students that are also using generative AI to come up with stuff instead of original thought, right? So there are now ways, there's technologies to be able to pick up what's fake, what's real, what's not real. And we're all developing tools and mechanisms to try. I mean, for example, our generative AI tool, Gemini, is linked to Google search, and Google search is very good at verifying using metadata to see where does this image come from? Does it exist? When was it published? When was it created? And what we've done is we've introduced a tool called Synth ID, where we watermark all the images that we generate through Gemini, so that you're able to tell that they're generated by generative AI. So all those things are really, really important, and we need to ensure that we don't undermine scientific discovery, we don't undermine intellectual property as we get excited about some of these tools. Now, what are some of the issues that we're seeing? Well, we're seeing that because there's a rush now for everybody to launch AI platforms and AI systems and AI tools and even generative AI platforms, there's a need to create safety principles. So Google has come up with a couple of safety principles around the use of AI. One is that AI needs to be socially beneficial. So it needs to benefit society. For example, does it help with improving health outcomes? Does AI help with education outcomes? Does it help with economic stimulation? Does it help with climate change? Does it help with driving the success of small businesses? So is it socially helpful? The second piece is that is it built with safety and responsibility? So you need to build in safety mechanisms into AI so that it is not repurposed for negative ends. You need to make it accountable. Users want to be able to give you feedback and play with this thing and be interactive. So you need to allow for feedback. And you also need to test your AI tools with independent experts who can help you identify blind spots in some of the things you're producing. We need to be careful about AI being used to spread bias and prejudice. There are people who want to drive divisions in society, but we all understand that 50% of the world's population is facing an election this year, right? Misinformation and disinformation, the biggest enemy to democracy, and misinformation, disinformation can harm lives. So we need to make sure that AI is not used to propagate misinformation, disinformation. We also need to make sure that AI is built with privacy settings. So you need to be able to feel comfortable that when you're interacting with Gemini, for example, your conversations will not be exposed or revealed. And that's possible. We need to give a nod to scientific discovery. So we need to make sure that what you come up with in AI is scientifically verifiable, that it doesn't undermine scientific discovery and so on. So all these things are very, very important principles to build into any AI systems that you come up with. Now, why is AI important and what is it solving? There's really 4 categories. The first one is AI helps people, and I'll get into examples of that. And we spoke about some of the things that you're doing every day with AI. The second class of use cases is AI powers economies. The third one is AI helps with some of the social challenges we face. And then the last one is about accelerating scientific discovery. So how does AI help us on a day-to-day basis? So we've come up with something as Google called warm-up interview. Google interview warm-up. Now, the insight there is that a lot of people, particularly in developing markets, have not had interview training, and that's a big barrier for them to get employed. So what we do with AI is that we've come up with a system that's quite free. When we're done with the talk, you can look it up, just do a search for Google interview warm-up. And what it does is it's collected many different industries and professions, and it's come up with top 5 questions that you're likely to face in an interview. You take the interviews, you answer the questions, and it marks you and gives you instant feedback on how you did. So it's a warm-up for a real interview, and it prepares you. And we've had lots of great reviews from people who've used it. It's helped them, access job opportunities. So that's the first one, interview warm-up. Bless you, Prof. The second one is something called Project Relate. And there, what we're doing is we're helping people who have non-standard or non-traditional speech. So people who have speech difficulties. So with AI, we're able to develop a speech recognition tool. So you record 500 words or sentences, and it gives you back a personalized speech recognition tool, which does the following things. It can translate your speech into text so people can read what you're battling to express with your mouth. It also uses a synthetic voice, an artificial voice, to repeat after you. So if people struggle to hear you because of deformities or you're living with disabilities from a speech perspective, it helps you to do that. Now, that's a day-to-day use. We also have adaptive and assistive technology that we use in schools where learners have disabilities. And that's already happening, whether it's text magnification, braille reading, speaker recognition, all those things are now happening. We also understand that there's a need for people to have a much better search experience. So now Google Search has generative AI in it. It's linked with Bard. It's much more multimodal. It's been trained on different modalities. It understands speech, images. You can now hum a song into your search to find out what the name of the song is or the artist is. So, sometimes you have this song that's bothering you in your head the whole day. You can now hum it into Google Search. It'll tell you. You can search in your own language. We even have Google Translate. So we've translated about 133 languages that are spoken by 1 billion people. Now, we know how difficult it is to travel anywhere where you can't speak the language, including in this country. 8 out of our 12 official languages are now on Google Translate. So if you want to impress somebody who speaks a different language from you, you can go to Google Translate, put in your phrase, and then WhatsApp them in their own language. So all those things matter and they help a lot. So that's a category of everyday use, whether you're on YouTube or on search, or whether you're typing a doc or, or Google Tricks, which is our spreadsheets, or Google Deck. We now have Gemini suggesting to you, can I help you write this? Can I help you write an application letter? Can I help you with a resignation letter? So all those tools are there, and that's AI working for you. Now on Google Meets, when we're having video calls, if there's noise in the background, AI can reduce that noise for you. AI can also help you change your skin tone on how you appear on Google Meets, if that matters to you. So all these things are important, and they're based on user insights, right? So that's the first category. That's how AI is helping you on a day-to-day basis. Let's speak about how AI is helping us with some of the key social challenges. Let's take the 17 SDG goals, right? We know what they are, right? So zero hunger, zero poverty, climate action, life at sea, life on land, inequality, industry and technology, and smart cities and sustainable cities and communities. So all these needs are really, really, really critical for us to solve, particularly us in Africa. Let's take a typical example. There are millions and millions of buildings in Africa, and quite a few of them have never been mapped before. They don't exist on any map. Now, you can imagine as a city planner, as a government, as a local municipality trying to plan service delivery, as an NGO trying to find people and direct services, you can't unless you can identify buildings. So we've got this project called Open Buildings Dataset Project that we run out of our AI center in Ghana, where we do all the AI research for Africa. And that project is mapping hundreds and thousands of buildings across Africa that are now discoverable, which is helping us to solve, particularly us in Africa. Let's take a typical example. There are millions and millions of buildings in Africa, and quite a few of them have never been mapped before. They don't exist on any map. Now, you can imagine as a city planner, as a government, as a local municipality trying to plan service delivery, as an NGO trying to find people and direct services, you can't unless you can identify buildings. So we've got this project called Open Buildings Dataset Project that we run out of our AI center in Ghana, where we do all the AI research for Africa. And that project is mapping hundreds and thousands of buildings across Africa that are now discoverable, which is helping, connect the needs with services. And that's very exciting. We see informal settlements everywhere with people migrating from rural areas into the urban cities, and they form these informal settlements and they have no addresses. And if you don't have an address, how do you vote, especially in local government elections? So now with your GPS coordinates, we've got a project called Plus Codes to give you an address, to give you the dignity of being able to vote just by using technology. If we look at the area of climate change, so carbon emissions, how many people are drivers? So people that drive, that stop and go, the carbon emissions out of your exhaust pipes, that leads to global warming. So we've got a project we're trialing in Saudi Arabia where we're advising the regulators, we're working with satellite data and Google Maps data to really improve the stop and go, so that people stop less and they emit less emissions. The majority of the emissions coming out of exhaust pipes come as a result of you accelerating to the climatic conditions that lead to the formation of vapor trails. So by advising aviation industry what altitudes to avoid, they can avoid the formation of vapor trails, thereby reducing their carbon emissions. A big problem that we have in the world is deforestation. When you have deforestation, you have fewer trees. Trees are a carbon sink. Trees absorb carbon dioxide. They do what we call carbon sequestration. If you reduce trees, you have less oxygen, and you've got carbon dioxide not being absorbed by anything. So deforestation happens for a number of reasons. It happens because of agriculture. 75% of deforestation is due to agriculture. Agriculture is important for food security, so you need both. But then what also happens with deforestation, you have soil erosion, you don't have fertile soil, you can't plant, you can't grow crops. And what we're also seeing is illegal logging, people that chop down forests. In Brazil, we've got a project to fight deforestation using AI. You ask, how does it work? In the Amazon forest of Brazil in South America, we use recycled mobile phones with AI technology, these Android phones. We put AI technology in them and we mount them on trees and they use solar energy to recharge. And they've been trained on large language models to understand and to interpret and pick up the sounds made by illegal loggers with their chainsaws. So they're linked to a microphone. So those phones are able to pick up illegal logging. They send a message instantly to the authorities, and within minutes, the authorities are able to come and arrest those people who are busy with illegal logging, which leads to deforestation. And that's just what AI can do, right? How exciting is that? Why is food security so important? 55% of Africans are employed in the agri sector. In this country, just under 1 million people are employed by agri. And agri, I think, is about 50% of many GDPs on the continent. It really is a big employer. And what we're seeing there is that locusts undermine crop yield. If locusts come and infest your crops, that's the end of it. We now use AI to understand the migration patterns and predict the migrations of locusts, and we're able to warn farmers and communities. And we can actually predict, areas where locusts actually reproduce and so on, and we're able to stem the tide and thereby improving crop yield. What we have today with image technology is that you're able to take a picture of a crop and it can tell exactly all the attributes about the crop, what it's called, what it does, how to look after it, but importantly, what's wrong with it. So crop disease management is now possible. You can now run a farm remotely by mounting cameras and sensors on your farm and having drones pick up information and all of that stuff. You can even play music to your vines like we've seen in Stellenbosch. And you can do all sorts of, you can give instructions to people virtually and say, hey, don't do this, do that. You're wasting water. You need to look out for this. So that's very, very exciting. What we're also doing, which is very important, is under climate action, what we've seen as a result of climate change is flooding. And we've experienced that in KZN. We've experienced cyclones in many parts of the continent. We've experienced extreme heat waves. We've also experienced droughts. Now, we've got a flood hub that's able to estimate and predict floods within 7 days and warn communities to relocate. And that flood hub is helping about 450 million people around the world, which is very exciting. And in the area of health, how is AI helping with health outcomes? Well, ultrasounds have traditionally been quite expensive. Those sonars, the scans that you use when you're pregnant, and they need to be attached to a large machine or a large computer. Now we've produced affordable scans, ultrasound scans that you can actually use in your hand, and they're quite portable and mobile. You can use them even in rural areas where people who are not really trained to do ultrasounds can do ultrasound scans, because we've trained large language models on millions and millions of pregnant tummies to be able to tell what's wrong with the pregnancy, and you're able to even introduce telemedicine and help communities without incurring much costs. In the area of malaria, we can now understand with drone technology where malaria-carrying mosquitoes are, You can warn communities. You can actually intervene. So there's a lot of stuff that we're looking at there. Transport, there's a lot. In education, there's a lot. We know that the world's population is very young. 23% of the world's youth population lives in Africa. And it's ironic that 50 million African children do not have an opportunity to get an education. UNESCO tells us that 20% of children between the ages of 6 and 11 are absent from school. 60% of Africa's youth are absent from school. Now that's a problem. And 9 million African girls are precluded from getting an education. Now that's inequality. AI can help with that. We now have an AI app that helps children read. As we know, 81%, unfortunately, of our learners in grade 4 in this country that we love cannot read for meaning. Now that's a crying shame. So what we do with Read Along, which is a new Google app, even a website, is that we've got a tutor that listens to children read and corrects them and coaches them and gives them praises and prizes and incentives when they get it right and coaches them to actually correct it. And that's quite exciting. That's in the palm of your hands. What's important about Education 4.0 is personalization of education. Every child needs to be met where they are. We all have different temperaments. We all have learning styles. Pedagogies need to catch up and actually personalize themselves so that people are not precluded by their own conditions. And AI can put a tutor in every household. We have a lot of child-headed households in our country and in fact on the continent, and AI can introduce great quality education into each and every home in your own language, which is exciting. So that's how AI is helping with some of those societal challenges. How is AI helping with scientific advances and scientific inquiries? So our partnerships with academic institutions is super critical. What we need to do is use the data and the research that we have and make it openly available and accessible to everybody. Because remember, Google's mission is to organize the world's information, make it universally accessible and helpful. So we've got something called Google Data Commons. And what we do there is we take publicly available data, planning data that governments and municipalities use, and we aggregate it and we put it into a portal that's available to anybody. And it's currently being used by about 2 million researchers in 194 countries. In fact, that database has data from about 194 countries. Now that helps, especially people like Statisticians General, to plan for census, for population growth, for services, for allocation of resources. And that data commons is very useful. We also have something very exciting. As part of Google, we've got a research arm called DeepMind, as well as Google Research, and they've come up with something called AlphaFold, which is an AI system that was developed in 2018. Now, can anybody take a guess and tell me how many protein structures are there in the world? They're in the millions. I'll give you that clue. Give me any number of millions. 50, 100, last guess. 234, you're very close. So there are 200 predictions of protein structures in the world. Now with Google DeepMind, we've got something called AlphaFold, which has a database of 200 protein structure predictions. Now, why is that important? To understand diseases and disease management and to come up with cures, you need to understand the amino acid structure of proteins. So to be able to improve the prediction of protein structures is super, super important, a breakthrough in biology and science. And today we've got 2 million scientists around the world having access to this database of all 200 million known protein structures in the world. And that's benefiting about 500 million people around the world. Now that's a really, really exciting thing. And we're also doing other researches. We're partnering with many different people to ensure that scientific discovery really benefits from the best in AI technology. So we spoke about how AI is helping you on a day-to-day basis. We spoke about how it's helping with some of the social challenges like climate action and SDG goals. We spoke about how AI is helping with scientific advances and scientific inquiry. And the last bucket of AI use cases I want to talk about is how AI is powering economies. It is predicted that in the next couple of years, AI will add about $25 trillion to the world economy. Now imagine that. And generative AI will probably add another $8 or $9 trillion to the world economy on a yearly basis. So it is a big deal, and that's why a lot of people are investing in AI. The power of AI in driving small business and startups cannot be overstated, especially in the area of automation. Small businesses, as we know, have a couple of barriers to technology adoption. Technology adoption, very simply, there's quite a few models around technology adoption. I'll give you an example. One is the TOE model, the Technology, Organization, Environmental Factors. Technology factors are, how useful is this technology to my business? Is it easy to use? Does it speak to my current technology kit? Is it compatible with my current technology stack? What is the cost of this technology? Now, as a small business, you can just imagine how many businesses can afford technology. So some of the businesses fall off there. And if you look at the organization itself, senior management buy-in and support and senior management advocacy of technology adoption is critical. The company culture. Are you innovative? Are you agile? Are you open to new things? Human capital and employee competency in the organization. Do you have skills? Do your employees know how to use technology? So all those things really matter. And then if you look at the environment, which is the E of the TOE framework, you're looking at regulatory pressure. Is there pressure? Is there laws around privacy? Yes, there is. We've got the POPI Act. How do you use technology to ensure that you've got privacy and safety built into your products and into your services? Is there pressure from consumers? Yes, consumers are dealing with chatbots today when they have a query and they want the chatbots to feel and sound and speak like a human being and not a robot. So you need to use generative AI to improve the vocabulary, the syntax, the sentence construction, the taxonomy of those responses has to mimic human speech so that the user experience improves, right? And there's competitor pressure. Are your competitors using AI? And if they are, you should be worried about who is using AI to displace you and not AI displacing you. The question we often get is, what will AI do to jobs? Well, three things. Some jobs are going to be automated. That's just a fact. The operational repetitive tasks that are easily done by a machine or a computer, those jobs will be phased out. What happens to those people? They must be retrained and reskilled. So jobs are going to evolve. So you can go from operational, mechanical to creative, strategic, and get new skills. So it is possible to retool, retrain, and reskill people. That's why some of us are doing our second doctorates. It's not because I've got time to waste or I'm that curious about scientific inquiry. But I understand that I have to be a student of life and a student for life. You're never too old to learn, right? Well, thank you. I'll take that. But really, we have to be thinking about what does the next set of skills look like? How do I create the next frontier? How do I create the next horizon? There's always 3 time horizons we operate in. Horizon 1, which is a current reality. Horizon 2 will disrupt Horizon 1. Horizon 3 will change the business and the social landscape as we know it completely. Remember, we used to have SLR cameras. We used to have cameras that use, film. Now we have digital cameras. Now we have great cameras on our phones. So things evolve and things change. And how do you plan for your future? How do you plan for the next set of innovative ideas that are going to shape the world? So you have to be on top of those things. You have to embrace technology. You have to be thinking about, how am I using AI today? What else can I do with AI? And the most important question you can ask yourself is, what if? This organization that I'm very privileged to work for, Google, was started 25 years ago by 2 PhD students who were studying at Stanford. And they asked the question, what if? What if we indexed all the world's websites and made them accessible and available and helpful to society? And that's how Google Search was started. And Gmail was about, what if we introduce an email, platform that doesn't have data storage limitations and billions of people can use it. Today, we've got 9 products that are used by more than 1 billion people at Google. Google has about 5 billion customers around the world. Google Search processes 8.5 billion queries a day. Now you have to think about these things and say, what led to the idea? It was the what if question. And Google Maps, the question was, what if we could connect people from point A to point B in the fastest possible way? And Google Maps has evolved now to things like the most carbon efficient way, and so on. And now we're looking at, what if we create a platform where people could share what they know and what they learn? And that's how YouTube was created. So as you think about your own lives and you think about the legacy you want to leave, you have to think about, What impact do you want to have in the world? What significant challenges do you want to take on? As you innovate to solve problems, what does that look like? Education is futile unless it's used to benefit the next person. We are all interconnected. That's why the term Ubuntu defines who we are. The social ethos of our nation is built around Ubuntu. The famous author Ernest Hemingway spoke about the fact that we're all interconnected, and he said, "Ask not for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee." Your humanity and my humanity are intertwined. Your destiny and mine are intertwined. We all connected, and technology can bring us together. Technology can be the tide that lifts all boats. If we use it correctly, if we use it responsibly, if we use it with the sole purpose of making the world a better place. Thank you. I'm done. Happy to take any questions, Malindi.
Phew. Thank you. Is everyone okay? There's like a shock. People are just like, what did I just hear? So thank you so much for that. I know there's like as Dr. Mokoena was talking, every couple of seconds you'd hear sounds like yeah, and then you hear someone kept on saying H this side. I kept on hearing H this side, but I think it's because we've all heard of AI, and it really does help to now have this one conversation where everything is being brought together, and I think that's why it's been heavy, and we're hearing those ums and those ahs that are taking place. We're going to open up the floor to questions. Please note on your tables, if you've got a question, you've got a button there and the mic there that you have. What I'll do just to start off, I'll allow just 3 questions first, and then if we have more after that, we'll take more after that. Are we ready? Okay. Madam.
First of all, thank you so much for your lecture. When we were growing up, everyone was growing up, at some point our teachers always said, please don't use your calculators. Don't depend on your calculators. And now we're having products that Google is offering that is allowing people to kind of use calculators now for language, for creating types of material, writing material. So how will Google, or how is Google going to work with people not to depend or have a crutch of AI, and also just be able to interact with each other? Because now as we're talking, I'm not using any AI to speak to you. I'm speaking to you out of the depth of what I know from listening to what you were saying.
Thank you. So what's your name?
Busisiwe Shezi.
Busisiwe Shezi. Thank you, Busisiwe. Do you want to take it first, or do we go for the other 3?
I'll take it. Okay. Thanks for your question. The relationship between human beings and machines has to be symbiotic, has to be complementary. You know, the outputs you get depend on the quality of the inputs. So you will always need great human intellect and skill to make these machines better. So yes, there's a codependency, but machines also depend on us, right? So technology shouldn't take away the need for human ingenuity, for human, intuition. You have to have a gut feel about things. Even if you read something that's generated by generative AI tools, you can read from the sentence structure. There's a lot of repetition. The syntax is not quite human. You can see some of the wording is quite machine generated. So there will always be a need. And yes, technology, it's really up to you how you want to use it, but you need to use it in such a way that it makes you better as opposed to just dependent. Yeah.
Thank you for that. I see 1, 2, 3. Just as a matter of interest, and I know my students are going to be like, I've said this a number of times, saying that you can, the syntax, you can for now pick it up. But I've noticed over time that it is improving. And I suppose that's machine learning coming into place. From the first time I ever used your chat GPTs, it's a completely different beast now. Madam.
Hi, my name is Kwasa. I form part of this lecture. Kwasa. Yes. So I've been listening to your talk, and what I find interesting, okay, I'm from the school of thought that South Africa's problem is a social problem societally, because in comparison with the world and what we've been seeing on social media is that we are actually right up there competing with first world countries in terms of how we live as a society, well, for the quote unquote upper class, right? And the social problem that I find South Africa has is that we want to integrate, obviously, the people suffering, the lower part of society, while the lower income part of society into the economy. And that is a social problem. How does AI address the social problem is what I'm saying, because it's not really just about medicine. It's about how are we using digital transformation to address information and what information people have access to, because I find that people don't know what they don't have and they don't know what they need until they know it exists. How are we using AI to get that information out there to them, and also just show them that there is better and that they deserve better and they can get better as a society? And how can we, with minimal cost, obviously, because we are in great debt as a country, provide that for them using AI? That's what I want to know, actually.
Great. It's a great question. So you have to think of this thing as an ecosystem of solutions, a cocktail of solutions. The first thing is deal with the access issue. Everybody has to have universal access to technology and the internet. We've got 1.3 billion Africans on the continent. Only 500 million Africans are on the net today. That's slightly bigger than the population of North America. 800 million Africans are not on the net. So you're quite right. 490 million Africans live in poverty, which is quite a significant thing. In this country, 6 million people go to bed hungry every night, yet 10 million tons of food goes to waste. 30% of all world food goes to waste, yet we've got people who don't have food. So the first thing is access. So what have we done about it? We launched a subsea cable called the Mokoena subsea cable 2 years ago, which is helping reduce internet costs by about 20% or so. It's trebled internet speeds. It's going to create much more bandwidth, faster internet, and all of that, much more affordable, so that everybody on the continent gets to benefit. So that's the first thing. Then you have to invest in compute capability through data centers, where all the big data gets stored, because we now store everything in the cloud, right? So that gives you much more bandwidth, reduce latency. So your ability to power the economy through digital technology is enhanced by that. Then you have to drive digital skills training, and many tech companies are driving digital skills training at scale. So millions of people are getting digital skills training. The internet is accessed mostly through mobile phones. So the penetration of smart mobile phones has to improve across the continent. They have to become much more affordable so that people have the best quality experience in the palm of their hand. Then you need to come up with software and programs and products that don't use up too much data, that are not, making people much more impoverished. Now, once you've got all of that, you need to create a single digital market on the continent. That's why the work being done by the African Continental Free Trade Area is so important in creating this digital marketplace that's going to drive e-commerce, so that you've got everybody being able to benefit from the convenience of e-commerce and improve lives. So before COVID, e-commerce in this country made up 1.5% of all retail sales. Fast forward to today, e-commerce is 5% of all retail sales. In the rest of the world, is sitting at about 15%. So you want anybody everywhere to be able to pick up the phone and order from Uber, from Checker 6060, regardless of where you live in the country. So you're quite right. And even from an education perspective, you need to improve education outcomes. And technology can do that. It can do it at scale and in a cost-effective way. Yeah.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you at last. Sir, at the back.
Good evening. Thanks for the lecture, Doctor. My name is Shegotimi, and this is my question. First, we do acknowledge the fact that AI is becoming more popular all over the world, and gradually it's beginning to cover every facet of human activity. But in spite of this, we do know that this artificial intelligence suffers some setback in Africa, especially the sub-Sahara parts. I realized that in most of your research, you didn't cover this aspect. And of course, people suffer a lot here because of, one, maybe government policy, and two, could be skill acquisition, and maybe ethics, maybe religion, and some other aspect. So what is the effort that you guys are putting into place to actually see that people get the necessary skills to be able to use this AI in the nearest future? And also, you made mention of the threat of this artificial intelligence to job, because many people will not accept this because they feel threatened that they will lose their job. So what is the effort you are putting into place? And most especially, I mentioned that government policies, lack of infrastructure, especially in the rural areas. What are the things you are doing to cover all these spaces to make sure that people, you allay their fears, they are not going to lose their job, and something that will help to boost the economy, maybe increase job in the next future? Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I think I made the point that the social compact that we speak about often is a coming together of all the social partners to ensure that we solve these problems. We can't do it alone as a tech company, right? A lot of what you're saying sits at the door of governments. Governments are there to help with service delivery, right? So even in the space of digital skills training, we've got a program called Africa Digital Skills Training Program, where we've trained about 7 million people across sub-Saharan Africa. And we've got partnerships with various governments. In this country, we've got a partnership with the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, where we have Coursera programs, IT certificates, where we have a partnership with NEMISA in terms of driving digital skills training. We also train small businesses. There's lots of programs like the Hustle Academy. There's digital skills training for communities. There's also specific programs looking at women and training them up in AI and in digital skills. There's specific training for developer communities. In fact, many university campuses have developer communities, people that are developing apps and products for Africa. We've launched our first product development center in Africa in Nairobi, Kenya, that's looking to create products, not just for Africa, but for the world. We cannot carry on being the net importer of digital products. We need to export. 60% of the world's arable land is in Africa, yet Africa is a net importer of food. So we need to fix those things.
Yeah. Thank you. I think I see there was a question. Yes, there's a question over there and another one over there. The more you give responses, I think the more people are getting intrigued and the more questions they have. It is a lecture, and I just want to remind all the students that don't forget that this is part of your assessment. So you should be making sure you take the notes. Okay, can we move? Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Aziz Saul from Gwande. My question, in fact, is twofold, but it's one question. It's about the development of the AI and also the implementation. In the development, of course, the developers can go independently. Let's say, for example, they are developing an engine that uses petrol, which produces the carbon monoxide, and which is harmful in our environment. However, in terms of the implementation, how does it gel with the lawmakers, for example? I understand that when you say that there is a responsible AI, but at the same time, there might be things which, when you look at them from the perspective of the damage that they are causing, they are not, in fact, the intention of the developers, but they happen probably because the lawmakers are not aware of it. Like, for example, let me make an example. In courts, the cell phone evidence has recently been recognized, but in the past it was not an issue. So because they did not have that in their law, the developers together with the lawmakers had not yet implemented that simultaneously. What is your view on that?
Yeah, so I think what's important is that you need to have safety principles when you work with AI. So we have our own safety principles as Google, right? The first one I spoke about is that your AI platforms or products have to be socially beneficial. In other words, you should be able to point to the things you are addressing. I spoke about what we're doing in health, in education, in food security, in climate action, and so on, in the agri space, in fighting, carbon emissions. Just by changing, the sequencing of traffic lights, you're able to reduce stop and go and reduce carbon emissions. So yes, you're right. People that come up with, that develop, these amazing apps do so with great intention, but they are bad actors. So how do you ensure that when you build your AI tools, they're built in with safety, they're built with responsibility in mind, and you need to also expose your innovation to a trusted circle of experts who can look at it, who can poke holes and troubleshoot and see, are there vulnerabilities? And this is an evolving technology. It's not perfect. There will be people that are going to misappropriate. There are people that are going to repurpose for nefarious ends, and we need to guard against those. But the important point that you make is the role of regulators and governments in regulating AI. So quite a few African countries, I can think of Rwanda, Nigeria, and a few others, who have now developed AI strategies. Now, we know that in the EU, they're also accelerating the development of AI regulation. So in South Africa also, there's an AI strategy under development. We know the work of the 4IR Commission has resulted in the 4IR Project Management Office. And now what we're seeing is the establishment of an AI hub. Now, South Africa's AI hub sits, it's basically built on a partnership with universities. It sits at 2 campuses, at UJ as well as TUT in Pretoria. And what those 2 hubs are doing is they've identified a couple of key AI projects that are really going to transform our economies. And I think we will see more hubs come up. So all of that stuff you're alluding to is definitely going to come. There is a need for it. So it's a valid question.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I've just been told that we've got questions online. So can we quickly just have a read, because they were going to just read 1 or 2 questions, then we'll come back to the floor. Yes, please.
Okay, my speaker's not working. Oh, there we go. We have a question from Tabeleng Ramotolo. I'm doing my master's research and I really want to use AI to design a 3D deposit to mine simulation. What tools can I use to create this? And then the next question, which is the last for now, is from Dr. J. How can AI be used responsibly in assessments and writing of research papers to ensure that learning takes place and not to have over-reliance on the AI tools? Those are the 2 questions we have for now. Thank you.
Great. I mean, I think, when it comes to research, many universities have access to many tools and resources. What we sometimes forget is when we're looking at a particular faculty and we need technology, we forget to go to the IT department and get some help. So what I found, in my own research journey, I realized that I was using external, statisticians and external transcribers and all of that. And meanwhile, the university had resources. So I would say the best place to go to is your IT department. There's data scientists there. There's people that are looking at AI tools. So experiment with a couple of those. And I think also just in the area of teaching, again, we're all experimenting. We're all trying to find our way through these things. There are various tools. There are software tools that have been developed to check the veracity of information, to see, like, for example, I spoke about a tool that we've introduced called Synth ID that looks at watermarking generative AI images to ensure that you actually mark the ones that are real, the ones that are generated. I think also what we need to make sure as educators is that we need to appreciate that it's about embracing and adopting AI as opposed to seeing AI as an enemy. So how do we ingest AI? How do we incorporate it into how we teach? How do we walk the journey with our students and make their eyes open and aware to the pros and cons of AI? And there's many universities around the world that are working with this. And I know as part of your internationalization process, you've got relationships with universities the world over, and also find out from them what tools are they using. Let's experiment. Let's all learn. But I think what's really, really important is that AI systems are getting better. These are machines, remember, that are simulating human intelligence, and they are trained on large language models. And as they get better and better and better, we will see the output and the quality improve. So AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to get better, but we need to ensure that we're at least a step ahead.
Thank you. Just something to add for that last question about the teaching and the learning part. What I have found to be quite useful is also in the way that I design my assessments and the teaching. So it becomes it's not as easy to go and ask the AI to regenerate an essay for you, asking about how to find a solution for rural ehlungwini in telemedicine, which is the assignment that the third years are doing right now for technology innovation. If you noticed, he spoke about it. That's telemedicine. But it's also about how you craft your questions. So to add to the response, it's about crafting the questions. The days of just asking, what is this? Are over. You need to get into questions that deal with reality and the gaps in our reality to really work without fear. Because I think there's a fear from most of us academics. Work without fear and make sure that learning still takes place. Prof?
Thank you. Twofold questions. For the students, undergrad and postgrad, top 5 fun Google AI products you would recommend that you think is a university student's must-have toolkit to help them through university. Then in reverse, top 5 fun Google AI products for university lectures. What would you recommend as the top 5 that university lecturers can engage with that will make their teaching experience a more enhanced one?
So what we have is, we've got all these Google products, right? And I said about 9 of them are used by more than 1 billion people around the world. So we all use Gmail, we all use Google Maps, we all use Waze to get around, we all use YouTube, we all use Google Search. So there's all these tools we currently using already. And what we've done is we've introduced Gemini, which is our generative AI tool, into all those products. So now your search experience has enhanced so much. When you're doing a search, it's multimodal, it speaks to all senses, it understands all modes, whether it's images or video or text or speech, whether you're singing, whether you're humming, it gets all of that. It actually can respond to it, right? And if I look at, how we're using YouTube, features that are built on AI, that's already happening. And if some of you are entrepreneurs and you've got businesses, and your businesses are online, you've got websites, we're using AI tools to drive Google Ads products to help people discover and find your website and to help you find customers online. So all those products are using AI. Even when you're using Gmail, when you're sending an email, there's Gemini built into that, advising you on how to do this. We don't have Pixel phones in the country, but even Pixel phones now translate conversations while you're talking, you can, so there's Google Translate that you use all the time to translate between languages. So there is no end to what AI can do. And I think what's really, really important is to experiment and you'll be amazed.
Thank you. So we're going to take 3 more questions because I'm just looking at the time. And then we'll open up for Dr. Gamede. So I'll start. White cap, was your hand up? Yes, so I'll start with you then, Orange.
Good evening, sir. My name is Alistair. So my question, can I get your autograph first? My second question is, so I've been seeing fantastic Google products, Google Pixel, but we are yet to reap the benefits of such. I think it's the best, one of the best phones ever created. I've been seeing those cheeky ads in comparing them with the iOS products about how fantastic the product is, but I'm yet to see even one person within my sphere of influence who's using a Google Pixel phone. So what has been hindering the products to come to our disposal. Actually.
Yeah, so we hope that we will have them here someday. We don't have them now. We've got Chromebooks, but we're hoping that with time we'll see pixels all over the world.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Busam Kono, first year in this university. So I'm just going to ask a small question here. Is that what can we do to make sure that AI does not become a tool to maximize profit at the expense of the general workplace? Because we do want exponential economic growth, but there shouldn't be inequality to a point where the economy is growing, but for a certain individuals. So how can we use AI effectively? Thank you.
So what's great about AI is that it doesn't require you to be an IT boffin, right? So the examples I've mentioned of AI, they're really for anybody to be able to access it. So what's great about AI is it's got a leveling up effect. There's great inequalities in the world. South Africa is the most unequal society with a Gini coefficient of 64%. I spoke about some of the inequalities between girl children and boy children when it comes to accessing education. AI will level the playing field. Everybody will be able to get a decent kind of education, decent access to healthcare, decent access to economic, sort of activity. So I think with that, we will see an improvement. Also because AI is a general purpose kind of technology, we'll see it apply to different parts of the economy. I spoke about agri, I spoke about health, so education. There are so many parts of the economy that will be benefiting from AI. And when that happens, the economy will grow. And when the economy grows, the quality of life goes up, the GDP per capita goes up, like mortality rates improve, the quality of healthcare improves. So yes, we have inequality, but if we want to drive the kind of growth that will create jobs, we need technology. We know the official unemployment stats in our country are horrific, 37%. We're growing at less than 0.4% GDP. Now we need to be growing at least 4 or 5% to create the kind of jobs that we need. And AI can help with that. So you're right about inequality, but this is a great solution to that. Yeah.
Okay, we only have one more question and his hand was up. Sir, but we will have time just when we finish for just further conversations and networking. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Nanani Bwane. I'm a digital art student from PMB campus. What I want to ask in terms of AI, I've heard a lot of engagements, but the possibility of doing a great job to the society and all. In terms of jobs, what's happening right now? Because being a digital arts student, I'm doing my master's, by the way. What is happening that I've seen that within the social media, where you find maybe videos that maybe AI is going to bury you guys now, as an illustrator, as a 3D digital artist as well. You find that maybe it's sort of like a threat towards one's career in terms of movement going forward. I just wanted to ask, what is the initiative from Google itself in terms of maybe making sure that some of the things that we always see on maybe on videos and on Instagram and everything else, that it is assurance that maybe the authenticity of one's work is not compromised. I've also seen that maybe some of the AI workers, artists have actually sued some of the ChatGPT, where you find that it has used some of the videos moved in from maybe a book itself. That I've seen that one woman, I think in America, has also done that as well. Hence, you've mentioned that it's something that is it's been built up. However, some of the people or some of the things I've seen that it might be compromised, where you have to go and sue instead of maybe curbing that scenario. Yes, I think that's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, great. So there's two parts to the question: is how do we help creators and artists protect and monetize their craft, but also how do we make creative output accessible to the world? So the first part is we've got Google Arts and Culture, Google Arts and Culture works with museums, with foundations, and we archive and we preserve and we make accessible the world's cultural heritage. So, for example, in Durban, 2 years ago, we came and we digitized the Masisi Kunene Foundation collection, Pansi Museum in Glenwood. They've got an exhibition of 15,000 artifacts. We digitized about 5,000, and we're carrying on. In other parts of the continent, we've also had other projects, like, for example, digitizing 40,000 Timbuktu scrolls to ensure that we preserve those. So that's from a heritage preservation and making it accessible. And then when it comes to monetization of arts, we look at the role that YouTube plays. YouTube is a platform where people are able to monetize their artistic creativity and the things that they come up with, and we make it accessible to the world. So there is that aspect. But I also spoke about some of the verification tools we're coming up with to ensure that we're able to pick up fakes and deep fakes. So Synth ID being one of them, where you can watermark images, where you can also link AI to Google search so that you can verify these things and check what is the metadata on them, where do they come from, where were they first produced. So there's always a threat, as you rightly say, of misappropriation of people's stuff. But I think technology must respond to that. And that's why regulation of AI is so important, so that everybody subscribes to the same level or to the same standard of ethical conduct. Ethical AI is super, super important. And that's why we should never speak about AI in isolation, but speak about responsible AI because of these very dangers.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you're begging me so nicely. I know I said he's the last one, but he's been begging me right through. Yes, you can go on.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Osi Shangase. I'm looking at AI as something that's going to grow in the future. And as a student, I am worried because it might overpower what I'm learning. And I actually want to be part of the behind the scenes guy who are there working into bettering AI for future purposes. So I would like to ask, what degrees or what qualifications would you think are going to be beneficial to me being part of the AI master team, if I may say? Thank you.
So, when I was speaking about all the use cases and how AI is permeating all parts of society, all parts of life, whether it's health, education, medicine, AI is everywhere. People make the mistake of assuming that AI is only, for computer scientists, computer engineers, and IT people. Of course it is. But there's also data scientists. There's linguists. We spoke about Google translating languages. We spoke about assistive technology to assist people living with disabilities, social workers, physiotherapists. People in the healthcare space are contributing to the discovery of new AI, breakthroughs, people in education. So it really doesn't matter. If you want to be a software engineer, you can go and study that. If you want to be somebody who will innovate and come up with solutions, find a problem and find a way to solve the problem, regardless of what you study. So remember, it's not what you study, it's how you use what you study. I was trained to be a lawyer. But look at me now.
That part still shocks me. Okay, thank you for that. Find a problem. That was week 1 for both my lectures. Find a problem. So now at least you're going to really believe it, because it didn't just come from me. So we've come to the end of our program. Thank you so much. And I've got Dr. Gamede, who is the academic leader of management and entrepreneurship, who's going to come up to the front to give our vote of thanks.
Well, good evening to all of us here present, and good evening to those who are with us via the YouTube platform. I'm here from the discipline of management and entrepreneurship. but I'm now wearing the shoes of the School of MIG and the shoes of the university. Yeah, I'm here to express sincere and hearty words of thanks, first and foremost to the organizer up here of this very special day or very special evening, and those that were working with her. We are truly thankful as the School of MIG for such a wonderful and successful get-together. Most importantly, we would like to convey our thanks to Dr. Alistair for such a powerful, dynamic, thought-provoking, inspiring lecture that you have delivered here this evening, Alistair. You've raised quite a number of important things. At first, I was geared towards only the academia, trying to observe what is it that our students here are going to benefit, and what is it that academics that are here are going to benefit. But as you continued, it came to show that what you delivered was not just for the academic world. It was for the entire society out there. It was for all other aspects of life. So it was multi-encompassing. Thank you so much for that. And you will agree with me that what Alistair delivered here was quite challenging. There are many things as he was continuing that were also here in my mind as to, hey, this AI thing, hey, where is it going to fit? When things are like this, how is it going to maneuver itself, and how is it going to assist us, And some of the questions that you raised here were quite helpful. They have made this get-together the success it has become. So thank you so much, all of you, and thank you for your contributions. I was also worried about this AI coming and, shifting us as humans into the backseat, and it be AI at the forefront. But I'm happy the way you articulated it, that there needs to be a balance. So that it's not about 4.0, Industry 4.0 only, but the human value should come back in Industry 5.0, which is the emphasis currently. So I was happy then to hear that element, that there will be a balance between the advancement in technology and the human value that is that should be there, that should be appreciated. So thank you so much. It was like we should be here. We should just be here forever and forever, but we've got time constraints, we've got limitations, we've got all that. So we cannot go forever and forever. But thank you so much for everything. We really, really appreciate it. A round of applause, please. Thank you. Okay. I've never done this talk before. You'll forgive me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but I've been asked to give this just as a token of saying thank you for coming down. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So a number of questions that we've had have really, I think, also been around fear of where do I then fit in? And there's a certain type of personality and certain type of skills we need to really know about. And this brings me to the very last part of today. So Dr. Mokoena has published a book. And this book is Servings of Self-Mastery. And if you go through it, you start learning. He gives the type of advice that we really need to be able to coexist in this new way and this new world, the type of attitudes we need to look into, the type of skills that we need to develop. As he said earlier, it's not about going to study software programming. I think that was the question that you asked, but it's about really opening up your mind in every field that you are in. And that becomes part of self-mastery. Where can people find this book? You can find the book at Exclusive Books. And it is really, really worth it when I just read the back cover. Like, I know I'm going to be into it. And he even says that you don't even have to read the whole thing all at once. You can go into different chapters as you're going through different parts of life and existing. Because whether we like it or not, and I've said this in class numerous times, if we are a people who don't develop the skill to identify gaps in the world and the environment that we live in and create solutions based on that, we are going to be in trouble, in big trouble. Even AI or any technology will end up not being meaningful to our ways or anything that we do. So thank you very much. Any last words before we part ways? I'm very happy that you came. Thank you. Some last words, please.
Melanie, Dr. Kunene, maybe we look into getting a copy of the book for the university library. So give us a bit of time. We can look into the book at the library, and then everybody would have access.
Perfect. Thank you. So the title of the book is Servings of Self-Mastery. I think what's important in today's world is for us to realize that we are the ones we've been waiting for. You hold the key to solving the problems that you see around you. All the problems we encounter today are human-made. So therefore, it'll take humans to fix those problems. Now, the agency that sits inside you is the power that you have. Now, self-mastery talks to self-awareness, self-knowledge, self-love, self-forgiveness, self-patience, being able to understand your proposition, because you're all brands in the marketplace competing for opportunities. You all want to leave a lasting impression. You all want us to say something about you when you're not in the room. But you have to give us that. You have to give us something to work with. You have to have your point of differentiation and distinctiveness. And self-mastery talks to that. Every one of us has greatness within us. We just need to know what legacy do we want to leave, and how do we work towards, crafting this legacy so that the space we occupy in the world benefits the next person. So it's really an encouragement and a challenge and a call to all of us to try and be our best, to be a net positive contributor, to be a force for good in the world, and to find a problem that you're passionate about and to solve that problem so that the world that we bequeath to future generations is in better shape and better condition than the world we're in today. So I encourage you to look for the book. It's top 50 in the country. It's top 10 in 5 exclusive books. We launched it end November. And I hope you find inspiration in it. Thank you.
Thank you for everyone who's joined us online. For the rest of you, there's going to be some refreshments outside. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh. That's very